Welcome back to episode 64, our third in the late 20th century, and our last in the late 20th century. Next week, we're going to move on to jazz and popular music for the next 6 lessons as we end things up. So, let's jump into this week's lesson on the late 20th century. Many composers at the end of the 20th century used experimental and unconventional techniques pioneered by modernists, but with a clear emotional expression that recalls earlier styles. Often, this emotion explored dark aspects of the human mind, such as anxiety, paranoia, and terror, similar to the expressionist composers from the early 20th century. George Crumb, a composer born in 1929, was especially popular during the 1970s and 80s. His works are great examples of this new expressionism. Crumb was particularly fond of the disturbing and surreal poetry of Federico Garcia Lorca, a Spanish poet who lived from 1898 to 1936. Crumb set Lorca's poems to music using unique sounds and instruments such as a toy piano and a musical saw. He also added theatrical elements like masks and dances to his performances. His most famous work, Ancient Voices of Children, is a song cycle that sets Lorca's poetry to music. One song in the cycle has the complete text, "Every afternoon in Granada, a child dies." This song reflects Lorca's reaction to the atrocities of the Spanish Civil War, in which he was killed, and transforms it into Crumb's response to the Vietnam War. Kaija Saariaho is a Finnish composer who blends experimental techniques with clear emotional expression. She is part of a generation of European composers who take inspiration from earlier modernism but avoid its most complex aspects. Saariaho often works at IRCAM, a famous center for electronic music in Paris, led by Pierre Boulez, an older modernist composer. Saariaho has a special interest in vocal music, especially for the soprano voice. She has written operas like L'amour de loin, Love from Afar, which premiered in the US in 2002, and Adriana Mater. From the Grammar of Dreams is a cycle of 5 songs for 2 sopranos without any instruments. The songs use words from Sylvia Plath, an American poet who struggled with depression and died in 1963. The lyrics mix prose from Plath's famous novel, The Bell Jar, and stanzas from her poem, Paralytic, which describes a polio patient's experience in an iron lung, which is a medical machine that helps patients breathe before polio vaccinations were common. Saariaho's approach to setting these 2 words of music is unconventional. She spreads the poem stanzas unevenly across the 5 songs. Songs 1 and 3 set stanzas as 1 to 4 and 8, respectively. She often has the 2 singers perform different texts at the same time, which is unusual in songs. Most notably, Saariaho uses a variety of unorthodox and expressive vocal techniques to bring the text to life. In From the Grammar of Dreams, the more active soprano sings the first 2 stanzas of Sylvia Plath's poem, Paralytic, with a wild and jumping melody. At first, she breaks up the words and emphasizes parts of them in an exaggerated way. For example, on the word happens, she sings huh, ap, and zzz. Meanwhile, the other soprano sings a softer melody that intertwines with the first, using trills, which are rapid alternations between notes. She gradually sings words from Plath's novel, The Bell Jar, such as a bad dream I remembered everything. This might suggest that the experience of the paralytic patient is like a nightmare. At around the 1 minute and 20-second mark, the first soprano begins to sing more smoothly, like her partner in stanza 3. Eventually, both sopranos shift to a monotonal, single pitch type singing, taking turns with one singer accompanying the other with a soft trill. So here's Song 1 from The Grammar of Dreams.
Inaccessible breast. I remembered everything.
Next, we'll take a look at Song 3. This part from The Grammar of Dreams is the emotional center of the cycle and is also the most traditional song. Both singers perform the final stanza of Sylvia Plath's poem Paralytic. The singer's calm, quiet tones suggest a peaceful acceptance and perhaps even a surrender of life. The song is built around a structure where the voices gradually rise to the peak at about the 1 minute and 35-second mark, then fall back to where they started. The song also uses a technique called imitative polyphony, which has been common since the Renaissance. In this technique, one voice starts a musical phrase and the other imitates it, like in a round. Listen for this at the beginning and the end of the song, where the voices intertwine like the roots and branches of trees mentioned in the poem, and at the repeated word magnolia, starting at about the 1 minute and 1 second mark. Here's Song 3. The final song here we'll take a look at is Song 4. In this part, images from Sylvia Plath's novel The Bell Jar reflect her own suicidal thoughts, but then shift to the life force of a beating heart. This song follows a loose ABA form. The first A section has harsh emotional panting. The B section starts at 19 seconds with a fully sung line building to an intense climax on the words I am, I am, I am. The earlier panting returns, but now it's sung. In the final A section, it begins abruptly at about the 1 minute and 25 second mark with fading, panting repetitions of I am that mimic the rhythm of a heartbeat. This song suggests that even though there's a hint of giving up on life in the previous song, the struggle to hold on is still present. So here's Song 4. Concert music composition after the year 2000 has gone in many different directions. Most composers have moved away from avant-garde modernism. Many now focus on clear emotional expression, like Kaija Saariaho, using new techniques to help achieve this. Others have returned to older styles, creating music with clear tonality, rich instrumentation, and passionate melodies, which is often called neo-romantic music. Today's music scene has three main characteristics. First of all is eclecticism. Composers freely mix different styles and gestures. Second is the reference to earlier styles. There is a conscious nod to older styles and genres. And third is strong, straightforward expression. The music is more welcoming and approachable compared to the challenging nature of high modernism. These tendencies are similar to trends in architecture and visual arts known as postmodern. Postmodern composers are not against modernism, but rather select elements from modernist and other styles to achieve their expressive goals. John Adams is one of America's top concert music composers. He is seen as a true American original, on par with composers like Charles Ives and Aaron Copland, though his style is different. Adams grew up in New England, like Ives, and moved to San Francisco in 1971. Early in his career, he was heavily influenced by Steve Reich's minimalism. One of his notable minimalist works is the opera Nixon in China. Many of Adams' pieces also focus on American themes, such as On the Transmigration of Souls, which was a tribute to the events of September 11th, 2001, and Dr. Atomic, which is about J. Robert Oppenheimer and the testing of the first atomic bomb. Unlike strict minimalists, Adams' music spans a broad range of influences, drawing from both popular and classical music styles. You can hear in his music elements of the classical tradition, from Bach to Schoenberg and Stravinsky, as well as references to marches, dance band music, rock, rap, and even cartoon music. This wide-ranging style contributes to his reputation as an American original. His El Nino is an oratorio, a genre that has been around since the Baroque period. Oratorios, like Handel's famous Messiah, have remained popular. El Nino is modeled on Messiah and tells the story of the birth of Christ. The title means the child in Spanish, and the work includes various episodes from Christ's life, such as the divine conception of Mary, King Herod's attempt to kill the infant Jesus, and the Holy Family's escape to Egypt. Adams created the text for El Nino by combining passages from the Bible with poems, especially those by Mexican female poets. This mix of languages and cultures sends a multicultural message, which was highlighted in the original performances by opera director Peter Sellers. On stage, singers performed with dancers, and a film above the stage showed a Latino family with a newborn baby, emphasizing themes of warmth and family. El Nino is both a celebration of multiculturalism and a cautionary tale about the dangers of rejecting diversity, symbolized by King Herod's actions. It's a modern oratorio designed for contemporary times. The work is made up of 24 numbers and is divided into two halves. The selections discussed here are the first numbers in the second half. This eerie and beautiful lullaby takes its words from a sacred song by the Mexican nun, poet, and intellectual Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, who lived from around 1648 to 1695. In the lullaby, Mary contemplates the future of her baby, Jesus, pondering whether she should wake and love those he was born to save, or sleep and anticipate his suffering and death. This song was first performed on Christmas 1689 at the Cathedral in Puebla, Mexico. One can only wonder how the congregation reacted to it back then. John Adams turns his lullaby into a musical dialogue. His mezzo-soprano, who plays the role of Mary, shares the poem line by line with the chorus. Mary states with an emotional, slow melody on the first line, backed by rich, romantic chords from the low strings and harp. The chorus responds with the second line and contrasting music. From the third line on, the soloist and chorus overlap in an increasingly intense manner, with the violin adding to the tension with a jumpy staccato melody, while the reassuring chords fade away. Calm is restored when Mary's opening melody and words return, along with the solid chords beneath. But this time, the chorus joins in, and the violin continues its energetic melody almost until the end. The overall structure of the song is a clear ABA form, reminiscent of Handel's da capo arias. So, I know I'm going to butcher this name. Here is Pues mi Dios ha nacido a penar. Two linked numbers follow the lullaby and develop the theme of Herod's treachery. For both numbers, the orchestra provides a sharp, percussive, continuous pulse. Adams bowed to the minimalists from whom he learned much. Baritone and three high-voiced countertenors join in the narration of When Herod Heard. When the three wise men speak, the countertenors sing alone, while Herod's hypocritical speech at the end is sung by all four singers. Each speech is introduced by a bassoon, playing eerily nearly at the top of its range. With a strengthening of the orchestral pulse, Woe unto them follows directly to When Herod Heard. This setting of angry words of God's vengeance from the Old Testament is the most energizing chorus in the whole of El Nino. Against the orchestra's pulse, the chorus splits out the words in homophonic setting, rising 3 times to powerful climaxes. As these approach, irregular accents from the brasses remind us of Stravinsky. In between, the baritone twice more repeats Herod's perfidious words from the previous number. Go and search for the young child, that I may worship him also. The chorus grows angrier and angrier, finally shouting from Herod's challenge to God's omnipotence, who seeth us and who knoweth us. Adjusting for the shift in tone from Messiah to El Nino, from the glory of God to his wrath at human hubris and deceit, is it too much to hear in this chorus Adam's answer to the Hallelujah chorus? So this is going to be When Herod Heard and Woe unto them that call evil good.
Now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, now when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying,
Where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and have come to worship him.
Now when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled. Now when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and he privily called his wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them, sent to Bethlehem, Go and search diligently for the young child, and when you have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship diligently for the young child. And when you have found him, and when you have found him, bring me word again, bring me word again, that I may come and worship, I may come and worship. Bring me word again, that I may come and worship, I may come and worship him. So unto them, go unto them, that seems so high, that seems so high. Go unto them, that seems, go unto them, that seems so high. Bring answer from the Lord, from the Lord, from the Lord. Go unto them, and the wise, till the Lord rise. And the last, go up, go unto them, and the wise, till the Lord rise. And the last, go and search for the child. Go and search for him diligently. Go and search for the young child. Go and search diligently. When you have found him, bring me word again. When you have found him. I bring counsel. I bring counsel.
Wow, what a great, interesting piece of music. So that ends off our classical world in the late 20th century. Next week, we're starting our last unit, which is going to be on music in America and beyond. These lessons are going to be a little bit shorter, probably around the 20-minute mark for each of those. Our final 6 lessons of our education together. So, we'll see you next week for the beginning of Music in America and Beyond. And until then, cheers.